that other monkey gained pleasure out of the banana, 20% of them had the exact same response, and every single one of them had some type of a response. So what does that mean? So as you're sitting here, and this is where I just get blown away by this stuff. As you're sitting here, and one of you has kind of like an aha moment, or like that's something I need to be doing. The person around you, even if that wasn't the same thing for them, they just benefit off of your positive mental impulse that was created from that. And then when you think about the synchronicity that happening in this whole room here, where all of us are getting fired up about our health, all boats rise, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. And so part of here too is, a lot of people, why people get fired up about juicing or things like, this is a bullet. I put in little things here so you hopefully remember cues, right? That you actually get something away from this talk here. You look, whether it's juicing or essential oils, you kind of look at it as like, I'm here because hopefully Dr. Barnes is going to give me the magic bullet when it comes to my health that's going to help me, magically drop like 15 pounds, or the medication, or my energy is all of a sudden going to go from the toilet to just perfectly high. It's probably juicing is the one thing that I miss, or maybe it's intermittent fasting or whatever. And here's the reality. When it comes to health, there's no such thing as a magic bullet. And in a way, that's not a very good thing to really, it's not really a marketable statement, you know what I mean? Because when you hear about other things related to health, what do we hear? Oh, do this, drop 10 pounds here, right? Or do this, and all of a sudden your blood pressure's gone, all these things. And I'm here to tell you the exact opposite. And in a way, in a weird way, I love it that there is no such thing as a magic bullet in health, because if it took you maybe 30 or 40 or 50 or even 60 years of damaging your body, and I'm not saying that from like you maybe did it on purpose, because usually it comes from a place of ignorance. I like that you kind of got to work through that and fight back to get your health. You know what I mean? Because anything worth having in life, number one, is worth fighting for and worth doing. So there's some magic in that struggle, like where that tension is what it's called, from where you want to be, right, to point A and to point B. And sort of everybody wants it, so it's like, here I am where I start, and where I want to start my journey of becoming healthier. And this could be for anything in life. And we say, here's where I want to be, and oh, you know what, we'll just start doing things, and the next thing you know, we kind of get from point A to point B. And in our minds, even though we know that it's never like that ever, we still, we'll kind of deep down hope, maybe this time it'll just kind of be that easy. We'll just kind of get the ball rolling and things will fall into place. Because the reality is that when you're trying to go from point A to point B, it usually looks a little bit more like this. It's kind of like you might get some initial success due to the excitement, and then it's kind of like there's a plateau, and then because you're plateauing for so long and not seeing the results, then you get discouraged, and then like the holidays come along, and next thing you know, you're back down here, right? And then it's like, oh, now it's January, so I got to fire it up again, and we'll go harder. Next thing you know, you're like going in like a little loop-de-loop, and really it ends up looking a lot more like this before you get there, right? And what happens is that somewhere along in this process, it's like you fall into like a bottomless pit, okay? And then a lot of people just give up at that point. And I can say that because working with thousands of people in my clinic here, I've seen that happen time and time again. And there's usually a good reason for why somebody falls into that sort of bottomless pit. Like, I'm not saying that they're bad people for that happening, but the ability to wrestle and just know that you're on this kind of crazy ride in here, and you're eventually going to get there with persistence, right? One of my mentors, his favorite quote is, persistence alone is omnipotent, meaning that if you just stay with something, you will eventually get there. But you have to have the persistence in order to get that. And so we all want to get here, but a lot of us just get stuck kind of in through there. Now, here's the thing. That's why you come to these events. You watch documentaries or whatever on Netflix, or you find a good book on health and you read that, on your own, is that those are the things that help propel you closer and closer and closer and kind of keep you on the right track. It's been said that when a plane takes off from LA and goes to New York, it's really actually only on the exact course that it should be on, less than 10% of the time. Meaning that it deviates and goes, as the wind and the currents below it, but it's a matter of just being able to always auto-correct and get back to where it needs to be. So I was listening to a sermon, and just, I read 5 books just to do this one talk tonight, and then I also listened to a sermon where I got some good points out of there, but the pastor was talking about the key to make change, and this is like, again, not a marketable message, but it's more of the same, okay? Doing more of the same. And how I interpret that is, right, reaching for the broccoli just one more time, right? And one more time again. Or, yep, waking up and having eggs for breakfast again, right? Or having that smoothie again. Or, yep, I worked out 3 or 4 times last week. Do I really got to do it again this week to make that happen? Yes, you do, right? It's doing more of the same. But where we can get struck with sameness is that it can be that sameness where you're like, it's like the stubborn sameness. It's like you kind of know what you want to do, but it's like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. Or it could be the scared sameness. It's like you want to. So there's bad sameness. Where like I'm too scared to like start working out, let's say, or start maybe juicing or doing something differently than I'm doing right now. So you kind of stay the same there, but more of the same. And here was a brilliant statement that he said, is that if you resist the monotonous, you miss out on the miraculous. That's a writer-downer, right? Okay, so when you resist the monotonous, meaning doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're most likely going to miss out on the miraculous thing happening, because that's how change and really these types of true things happen, okay? So there's a story, a famous story that kind of really illustrates this. Well, it's famous once you know who it's about an actor. And when he was born, there was a birth complication where it left part of his face paralyzed. And if you're trying to be an actor, there's certain type of, caricatures with your face. You need to be able to portray certain type of accents or speak. So it left him kind of with a speech impediment. But he knew from the first time he ever saw a motion picture film that I'm going to be an actor and nothing's going to stop me. Well, obviously his parents were kind of like, well, you can't really talk. You're in speech therapy. You can't really speak, you can hardly smile. But, they kind of go with their dreams. Now, during his childhood, his family life was kind of rough. So eventually he had to leave his family life and go live in a foster home. And so he kind of bounced around from foster home to foster home, didn't let his dream die. And when he hit the age of 18, he left where he was, and he went to New York to try to that was the closest big city, and started taking acting classes, going to school. And pretty much all the teachers and all the feedback he got was like, hey, we really appreciate your kind of zeal for this and your excitement for this, but it's just like, I really just don't have what it takes. It's like, I don't care, just didn't let that phase him. I'm going to be an actor now. Because he realized he had some challenges and limitations, he's like, well, maybe I can kind of fit myself in sort of a niche role. So what he did is he started working out at the gym like 6 days a week. So he got some big muscles, and he's like, well, maybe at least I can kind of like become sort of like a physical, like play a bad guy or something. And, it really just it got him kind of a few more hits and nibbles there, but nothing really. So things got so bad at a point he got evicted from his apartment, and he finally got a call back for an audition. But when he looked at what his part was, it was actually a sex scene where he was going to be fully nude, and like it's the 70s. It was kind of crazy. And so inside of it, like it went against everything of as far as his morals. But he was said, like, I was at the end of my rope. It was either steal food or take this job so I could eat for another couple weeks. So he took it, and he did it. And so that was the one job that he got, like basically of all those things. Just it wasn't working out. So he started to kind of doubt a little bit, but he just held on to it. And so he was still he's like, maybe I'll take the next acting class. And he just kept doing it. Now things got so bad at a point where he literally hadn't eaten for 4 days. And he had his best friend with him, who was a dog, all right? And looks more like a cat, right? But what he had to do was, and it was the lowest point of his life, is that he had to sell literally his dog to eat. So he went to a liquor store, and just because that was just the place where he knew he could meet, whatever. And he stood outside a liquor store, and he ended up selling his dog, his best friend, for $50 just so he could get the next meal. So the lowest point. Then he was in kind of homeless shelters. Now, in the mid-70s, he witnessed a sporting event that really inspired him. He's like, man, somebody really needs to make a movie that captures the energy of this event that I just saw. And so he went and he went to the public library, and literally for 3 days in New York, he just wrote. He literally banged out the entire script in 3 days. He slept only for a couple hours, and he scraped some money together for a bus fare, went to LA, pitched it to studios. And a major studio was like, hey, we actually love this. We'll buy it from you for $150,000. And he's like, well, hold on. The catch is that if you're going to do that, I need to play the lead person in that. And they're like, well, no, no offense, like you did a good job of writing the script, but you're not what we'd be looking. We have people that have been, multi-movie stars that would take the place. He's like, no, thank you. So he's like, I'll find somebody else to take me on. Let me be the actor. Same place calls it back in a few days, like we've increased the offer to $250,000. This is back in the 70s, so that's a lot of money. That's a heck of a lot of money back then. Still is today. And he's like, do I get the lead? And they're like, no. And he's like, and then finally like, okay, what do we got to do to like get you to get this movie from you? And he's like, I need to play the lead. We're like, well, unfortunately, we're just not really willing to take the risk on you. So fine, we'll give you our kind of our lowest grade production team. We'll give you $25,000 because we really can't invest any more than that because we don't think you're going to be good. She's like, I'll take it. Takes his $25,000, cashes the check, goes back home, back to New York, goes to the liquor store, waits outside the liquor store for a week to find the guy that bought his dog, finds the guy that buys his dog, and like, I want to buy my dog. And the guy's like, no, actually, this is a great dog. I don't want to sell this dog back to you. And he was like, what will it take for me to get the dog? So he eventually had to buy that dog back for $15,000. His dog back, and he did it. And he had to promise the guy that he bought the dog that he would get a part in the movie that he just landed. So to make an already long story fairly shorter, the movie actually went on to win Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editor, right? And the actor now has a net worth of $200 million, and his films have grossed $1.2 billion in the box office. He is the only actor that has had a #1 movie in 5 decades, all right? And the movie was Rocky. Climbing up the steps, right? The dog is in the movie. That's the dog that he runs with. That's his dog. And the guy is in the movie, right? And so here's the point of the story. Why did I waste whatever many time on that? Is that it's to prove one point. At what point would you have given up?
So long. Yeah.
And that's why we struggle, right? That's why we struggle with our areas. And so thinking about this, like, at what area right now with your health have you given up that it's like, yeah, like I still like the idea with that, but I just don't know like if I can ever get there, or I just don't really believe it in my spirit anymore. But the thing is, you just keep going. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll be worth $200 million someday. Who knows? All right? Okay. So what does it have to do with juicing? Not much, but so when we look at juicing, all right? The reason why juicing is so powerful is that it takes macronutrients, right, from a whole heck of a lot of fruits and vegetables. It pulverizes it and minimizes it down into several pockets of micronutrients, making it easy for our cells, okay, to absorb that nutrition and put it to use. So here's the thing. You are only made up of 75 trillion, cells. That's what we are made up of. So you are only as healthy as this 75 trillion group of cells put together. Here's what's pretty cool. So you have 75 trillion cells. Each one of these cells here actually has 6 feet of DNA wound up inside of it. So if you were to take all the DNA in your cells, stretch it out, it would literally go to the sun and back, like a couple million times. That's how much genetic, amazing code that makes you your individual is inside of you. Now, it's not that amazing actually if you think about it, because we actually share 96% of the exact same DNA as with an ape, all right? So you are more like a monkey than you maybe think you are, right? Or if your husband is like, you're like, he's got somewhat of an excuse. We share 60% of the same DNA as a fruit fly. So we're 60% exactly the same as what a fruit fly is. Every single day you shed 10 billion skin cells, flakes of skin. And by the way, 90% of the dust in your house is your skin cells. So some of you will take out your vacuum cleaner when you get home, right? Within 28 days, okay, your skin cells, all right, or your skin, every single cell of skin has been completely replaced. So if you have bad skin right now, that means if you can fix the cause of that, literally within a month's time, you could be glowing and radiant. And within 9 years, every single cell in your body has been completely replaced. So you think about 10 billion skin cells being sloughed off every single day. 28 days you have a brand new skin, 9 years you have a brand new body. If you actually really think about how amazing that is, it's like, how does your body remember to like recreate you and like not an ape or a fruit fly, right? Like you actually kind of think about that. So that's really what we're tapping into. So We're taking, broccoli, right, or other things that are healthy, breaking it down into little tiny nutrients that your cell can easily absorb, and then therefore your cell becomes happy, all right? So 75 trillion cells and you are very, 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 very happy when that comes, all right? Now, there's only 2 causes of disease then when we look at this here. Number 1 is toxicity, all right? And number 2 is deficiency. Every single disease that we know about, all right, and even the ones that we don't know, don't have a name for it, will always stem from a combination of 2 problems. Toxicity, so something that might be nerve toxicity, might be environmental toxicity, might be, chemical toxicity from personal care products or whatever. That creates interference and then abnormal cells in your body. Or it could be a deficiency, and a deficiency would mean maybe you're missing specific nutrients like, I don't know, vitamin D, or a B vitamin, or you're not getting enough of certain types of fiber, or whatever, or fat or things. These are always the 2 causes of these. So these lead to then some type of interference in your body, all right? So this is what interference, and that creates what's called dis-ease, which disease then long enough, meaning that there's dysfunction, right, of ease. So meaning that if it's your heart, for example, there's a lack of ease of your heart working the way that it should, and when that happens, then eventually it becomes diseased, all right? And then when an organ becomes diseased, then you get, of course, death after that. So our job then is, if there is a dis-ease going on inside of your body, like let's say maybe high blood pressure, our job then is to figure out not how can we treat and cover up that high blood pressure, but how can we remove the interference that's causing the high blood pressure, and therefore by figuring out where is the toxicity and deficiency of the problem. You guys, you tracking with me so far? All right? So here's the problem. If you think about this, if we go back to high blood pressure, and this is why we as Americans have been improperly trained to not listen to our bodies, and why that creates such an issue. If you think about this, so high blood pressure arises for when your arteries actually become, so if we're looking at a cross-section, so if we're looking kind of down the tube of an artery, when the arteries become swollen and inflamed, all right, so less blood can flow through there, all right? So if that blood vessel is trying to get to one of your muscles, or, to an organ like your stomach, let's say, all right? So the vessels are constricted, so the only way for the blood to get the proper amount through there is the pressure to go what? Up, all right? So now you take a high blood pressure lowering medication, and you artificially lower that down, only treating the symptom. What are you doing to the physical organs and muscles and tissues of your body? You're starving them of blood, all right? Which is why they're not finding that for women that take blood pressure medications for 5 years, their chance of breast cancer goes up by 60%, right? There's always a major, and usually hundreds of major side effects what happens. So we figure out the cause of why these things are happening in the first place, all right? So when we talk about juicing then, what's so beautiful about this, we're going to go back to 8th grade science class, all right, is this magic little formula right here, okay? Who came up with this formula? Einstein, yeah. Somebody that thought he would amount to nothing, one of the smartest people ever lived. For those of you that are not physics or science buffs, this is E equals mc squared. This is energy, all right? This is matter. Okay, and this is what the speed of light squared, all right? Basically what that means is that matter, this desk right here, right, this marker, is just bound up energy, all right? So that's why when they figured out how to work with that, they created an atomic bomb, and nuclear, devices and everything like that. So what we're trying to tap into is taking the matter of the food that you are eating and make it into energy that is going to fuel your body. Now, listen, if you are fueling your body with dead food, there's no possible way you can expect to live. You know what I'm saying? And so what's great about juicing is that you're taking juice that, vegetables and fruits that are still alive and quickly utilizing it so you're getting it as it's alive and not some, dead product like animal protein or something. So this is what we're doing. We're literally tapping into the physics of the universe or the physics of creation to help your body be as absolutely healthy as possible. So I'm going to tell you another little story about my friend Isaac. He was I actually owe this guy a lot because when I was in chiropractic school, I went to chiropractic school thinking like it's a great job. I'm just going to help people with back and neck pain, and actually it helped me with allergies, so I'm like, well, I'll just help people with allergies too. But when I was in my first quarter there, and still eating like really bad food, and still partying a little bit, and doing all those bad things, he actually he like paid for me to go to a Maximize Living seminar as a student. He's like, you got to go to this thing. So I actually owe him a lot. But so once I went to that seminar and got fired up about Maximize Living, I started hanging around with him. And I'm like, gosh, I looked at my people I was hanging out with, and they were all really dumb and losers. So I'm like, I'm going to start hanging out with guys like this. No, really, they were. So I love them, but they just weren't from where I wanted to go in my life. And I went to their house, and I'm like, hey, tell me how to eat healthy. And we went to Whole Foods, and they were just like, here, eat this. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And like, put it in my cart. And I literally like got home, and I spent like $250. And I literally didn't even know what to make. I'm like, it was just ridiculous. So I went over and like, you got to show me how to make some of this stuff, because I had no idea how to cook. I still don't, but I had less of an idea then. He's like, well, we're juicing, so like let's juice bring some of your vegetables up there. So we went up. I brought all this food up to his apartment, and if you know anything about juice people, most juice people I find personally, are like super annoying. I love them, but meaning it's like they're like, if something's wrong with them, like, well, have you tried juicing? It's like everything. The solution to everything is like to do a juice with that. And I'm like, well, juice is not a magic well, it's not a cure-all, but they were throwing all this stuff in there, and it came out green, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen here? And I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, it literally tasted like a tree barf to my mouth. And I'm like, this is supposed to be like good for you. I'm like, the heck with that. But anyway, so that was my first experience with juicing and juice people. And his roommate Dave, who I actually love this guy too. He's still in Maximize Living, but he was one of those like nature people that. He was like so natural that he like didn't even believe in using deodorant whatsoever. So in Atlanta, Georgia, in the middle of the summer, and the guy, like you would see him coming across the parking lot, and he's a hugger, and he's coming in for the hug. And you're like trying to figure out your escape plan, because you're gonna have some stink on you, from that. But that was like my first exposure to like juicing people. Again, I love them, but it's not very good. So. All right, so there's a right and a wrong way to juice, all right? And that's why, again, when we talk about juice people, it's bad spelling, and why it can't be a magic bullet is that a lot of times people come in like, oh yeah, like I'm healthy, like I go to Whole Foods and I get like juice all the time, or I make my own juices, and I'm like, well, what do you put in it? And what you find out is that it's mainly like it's fruit, and it tends to be really high sugary fruit, all right? And so that is not good, because people will see in documentary like about the Gerson therapy, the Gerson cancer therapy, about juicing, and they're like, oh, my friend has cancer, my family member has cancer, so they should start juicing, and like they're juicing them orange, you know what I mean? And that actually will not reverse the cancer whatsoever. So what we're looking for, there's something called a glycemic index, and there's something called a glycemic load, all right? Now, they're kind of the same, but the difference with a glycemic load is that takes into account the fiber. So fruits and vegetables that have a very, very, very high fiber content will have a lower glycemic load, all right? Where glycemic index is only, based on kind of the sugar content. So because you're juicing and you're removing then all the fiber from that, you need to make sure that you're juicing foods and fruits that are very, very, very low on the glycemic load, okay? And also on the very, very low on the glycemic index. So things like oranges and watermelons and pineapples are super, super, super high, which a lot of people kind of do to make their juice taste good. So I'll show you how to make it taste good. Other things that they'll do is that, go to like maybe Costco or something, you'll buy like a big, huge box of like kale, for example, and it's not organic, and it's like, well, if I'm going to be juicing this whole thing, I want to get it as cheap as possible. But you may have to make sure that you follow the clean 15 and the dirty dozen rules when it comes to juicing, especially if everything is not going to be organic. So, for example, if it's on the clean 15 list, all right, remember that's in your green book. If you don't have it, or you can Google that real quick. It's in this book, if you can Google it there too, is that if it's on the clean 15 list, all you got to do is kind of wash it. But you can actually even juice the rind, the skin, or whatever, maybe, because you might as well, it's actually good to do that. If it's on the dirty dozen, oh man, at the very least, you have to peel all the skin off and wash it like crazy. But I wouldn't recommend it, because if you're taking something like that's really highly pesticide sprayed, and you're doing a lot of it, like you might juice whatever, like a whole big thing of kale, you're taking all those pesticides and herbicides and concentrating it down to a very small drink that your body has less of a chance to handle. So if you're going to be buying stuff off the Dirty Dozen, I would highly recommend making sure that those are organic, all right? Again, Clean 15, don't waste the money on buying organic, and you can just wash it, put it with the skin in there, but you got to really be careful with following those rules. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's easy ways to look at it. There's actually an app if you have a smartphone, you just search Clean 15 or Dirty Dozen. You can get that as an app. You can pull it up real time while you're shopping. Now, the other thing too is I want to kind of compare the difference between juicing and shakes, all right? Because I'm actually a big fan of both. Because with shakes, you're still going to be getting the fiber, all right? And so, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit more work for your digestive system to absorb than it would be just a straight up juice. So I'm actually a fan of doing both. People ask me like, well, how often or how much should I juice or what should I do? And it's like, I'm not really a big fan of like doing like a 7-day juice fast or anything like that because you're not getting any fiber, you're not getting any protein, you're not getting any fats, you're missing a lot of the major macronutrients that your body needs. But I am a big fan of actually doing shakes and juices combined if you want to do some type of cleanse or fast, is you actually do both of them at the same time, okay? Because then with a shake, you can still put things like protein in it. You can make sure that you have coconut milk or avocados or something so you can make sure you're getting the fat still along with that. So I'm a big fan of actually doing both. So a good cleanse would be to do something like 2 or 3 shakes a day and actually like 2 or 3 juices in a day if you want to do that. And you can do that for a pretty good amount of time because you're still going to be getting a good amount of calories and things from the shakes, and then you're going to get a massive amount of nutrition from the juice. And I'll go over protocols here in just a few minutes for that. But what I love about juicing is that you can utilize and get nutrition from things that you wouldn't normally have. Like, for example, like mustard greens, dandelion, leaves and things, and they sell these things. It's like normally, you wouldn't like cut up, dandelions and like put them in your salad, right? But there's actually a lot of good like properties in that, so you can, or you may not eat like a whole huge thing of ginger, but you could put that in a juice. You can really take things you wouldn't normally eat and put that into a juice and kind of like put some other stuff around it so you don't even really taste it, with that too. So that's what's great about a juice is you can put things that you wouldn't normally put in there. So let's talk about foods that are 100% go for juicing, and I'm going to give you some ones that you want to caution on. So green light, broccoli, which Dr. Majors, who, for most of that know is our cancer expert at Maximize Living, who reverses stage 4 brain cancer. He actually still juices 2 to 3 pounds of broccoli a day. Wow. Because it has something in there called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane actually helps keep your hormones balanced. So part of his cancer was hormonal in nature, so he's just got to really keep that in check. Spinach. Although I don't do as much of the spinach, but I'll put it on there. Kale, do tons of that. I'll do cilantro, parsley, celery, cucumbers. What's the color of all these things so far? Green. Granny Smith apples. Yep. Okay, not anything red. All right, too much sugar in those. Cucumber, cilantro, celery, lemon and lime. All right. So especially cucumbers, Granny Smith apples, lemon and lime, and celery. Those are usually the bases. All right. So I'll do the majority of that, and then we'll kind of spruce everything up with sort of these extra. Like I'm not like doing like a whole bushel of cilantro. You know what I mean? Just a little bit of dash in there for that. So I'll do 2 cucumbers, and this is like if I make for my wife and I, 2 cucumbers, 2 celery stalks, 2 Granny Smith apples, and then 2 lemons and 2 limes, and that is absolutely much of these other stuff as I possibly can get in there with still keeping it good. Now another thing a little trick that we found is that there's actually a lemon flavored stevia at Whole Foods that they sell. Mm-hmm. And putting a couple of drops of that in this mixture right here makes it taste super sweet and super delicious, all right? So I recommend getting that, and that really helps it make, I mean, honestly, it tastes like candy when we drink it. Then, as we put that few drops in the steam. And you would need to do that to taste. Don't do like a whole bunch. Just do a few drops. Kind of mix it up. Taste it. Oh, not sweet enough, so do a couple more for that. So now, listen. There's lots of other green vegetables. Like I said, mustard greens, dandelions. So like you can mix it up. We'll do ginger too. That definitely gives it some heat and some spice. You can do turmeric as well for anti-inflammatory. There's all kinds of other benefits that each of these things will have, but mainly the things on this side of the list right here are the ones that we'll make all the time. Okay. Now the ones you got to be very, very, I'll say caution, but really caution means no. Like I wouldn't do it. All right. Would be oranges, red apples, pineapple, watermelon. Oh, you know what's another good one in here? I forgot mint is also really good. Mint leaves, a little bit of mint in there is also really, really tasty. What are the other ones that?
Banana.
Well, yeah, it's hard to juice a banana, but yeah, I mean, any of the high sugary fruits there. I really don't even do berries a lot with that here because again, you're not going to get very much out of it. But these are kind of the main traps that people would fall into if they're going to be juicing. So really, you just got to avoid these as much as possible. Too much sugar. Yeah, sorry, carrots too. Yeah, which is what a lot of now I'm not saying you can't throw. Carrot would be more caution. All right, you could do in moderation because there are some really good benefits in carrots. But a lot of times, most places will use carrots as a base, and that just makes it. They're really, really high in sugar, especially if you're looking for like weight loss. Okay, there's anything that would be in carrots, you're going to find like properties over on this side of the list, anyways. But I get it. You can do a little bit of carrot if you want to, but I would really mind. Beets, same thing. Thank you. That's also a caution. Super high in sugar. I hate beets. I usually block beets out of my brain because the last time I ate a beet, I was 11 years old and I barfed it all up. So I just like have a mental block against beets. It's like my wife tries to hide beets and things that we make, and like I can smell them from a mile away. So asparagus is another one over here too. Helps your pee smell fun.
Yeah, real fun.
And then I will say over here again that too, just as a recap, anything on the dirty dozen, right? That's not so non-organic. I would be on the caution end and the no side of things. So as far as protocols, my favorite ones I do is that if I'm going to do just straight up juicing, I never go beyond 24 hours at a time. All right. Anything beyond that, your metabolism just gets majorly screwed up. All right, and so. It's good to do like 24 hours. Maybe you do like 4 or 5 juices in a day, and that's fine. But I mean, you could go a maximum of 3 days with if you wanted to. But just be forewarned that you might get some metabolism issues if you do that, because just when your body's not getting solid food and nutrition for 72 hours straight, it starts to go into kind of panic mode a little bit, and it starts creating fat storage. 2 times a day is another good one. So doing like 2 juices a day in between meals, all right, is a good one. And I would do that for maybe like a week, 7-day time. So you do 14 juices over the course of 7 days. That's a good one. Or the one that I kind of mainly do is anywhere from kind of 2 to 3 just a week, all right. I actually had one yesterday. It's kind of like whenever I feel like I just haven't been doing a good job of getting fruits and vegetables, mainly vegetables, really, it's kind of like, I'll get a juice or I'll juice it. My juicer is broken right now, so I've got to buy them lately as I'm getting it fixed. So this is something I kind of do more indefinitely, okay? How much I do with this, I do about a quart at a time, all right? So I would do 2 to 3 quarts of juice per week, which is a lot. Now, so when I juice, it's not 100%, like that recipe that I gave on there, it's not all, like I'll put water in there, like I'll kind of juice all that stuff, and I'll do water to kind of fill it up to a quart. So it's not like 100% juice, because that'd be like $500 worth of vegetables to make that happen. So I'll kind of get as much as I can out of that, and then I'll fill up the rest with water. So the kind of juicer that you want to get, all right, because then everybody always asks, not, well, actually, let me start with this. If you have a blender, you can actually juice with the blender. And what you do is you just put everything in the blender, then you just got to strain it, either with like, I don't know, like a nylon sock or a cheesecloth or something. So you just kind of like pour the mass, and then the liquid will kind of soak out of there. So you don't have to necessarily go and buy a $270 juicer, tonight to start juicing tomorrow. And then really too, what I see another trap is that a lot of people will take all the leftover stuff and like just kind of throw that away. But I didn't realize there's a lot of good ways to actually use that and take that and make like good salads, add it to salads. You can like kind of roast it, put some sea salt on there, and so don't waste that stuff, because the fiber that's in that actually acts as a prebiotic, which is different than a probiotic, but meaning that it supplies your healthy bacteria that's already existing and actually helps them kind of be fruitful and sort of multiply, all right? So don't throw away that stuff. You can get a blender. I have a Vitamix, and a Vitamix I think is really a must-buy. They're expensive as heck compared to other blenders, but the warranty on those things, and you could run the thing over your car by accident. You can call Vitamix and be like, I made a mistake, and they'd be like, oh, we'll send you another one. So like one time, my roommate dropped like a spoon in there, and it like completely shredded the blade, and we sent it off. They paid for the shipping, and then they sent it back, a brand new one, completely brand new and redone. So they're like, you see them in Costco, they got deals all the time. You can get refurbished ones now too online, which are a lot cheaper. But if you don't have a good blender, I'd rather you get that over a juicer first, because then you can make some heavy duty shakes with that and still get the benefits of the juicing, okay? So that'd be like the first purchase. If you already have a good blender, like a Bullet or something, and you want to go for a juicer, the kind you want to get is something it has to be low RPM. Okay? RPM means like how fast the thing turns, right? So the lower the better, because if it goes too fast, it actually damages it. It needs to be, it's called masticating, which means that the process for which the juice is made, it actually mimics like how you chew. Mastication is it's a scientific term for chewing. So the one I personally bought, these are the two main keys. The one I personally got, it was out from Mercola.com. And it's Omega. It's called an Omega juicer. Okay. There's a Jack LaLanne, one. That's like, those are pretty cheap, $60, but it doesn't really do that. And if you're gonna spend the money on juicing, like, you might as well do it the right way. Okay. With juicing, going back to the right ways to do it, prep is huge. Prep is very huge for the expediency of juicing. So if you're gonna do, let's say, a 24-hour juice fast here, figure out how much raw material you'll need for that, and chop everything up ahead of time, like the day before, because that's really the slowest part of the process, is to like chop everything up and get all ready. So you can just get your things, here's how much cucumber, slice them all up, and then it's just easier because you grab and shove it in there. So prep is huge with that too, and also you'll save a little bit of money, kind of do it that way if you're kind of buying things more in bulk. But Omega is the brand that we have, and they're really awesome actually. Like if a part breaks on it, we send an email picture of the part, and they'll send you a brand new part. For that they have a good warranty, really good warranty on that. And I got ours off. Mercola has like a really good price. He's like, I think it's like a negotiated price for that. Who's ever heard of Mercola? Joe Mercola? Yeah, he's a good resource. He's a DO up in the Illinois area. He knows he's got the largest online natural-based website. A lot of good stuff. If you subscribe to his newsletters, it'll fill up your inbox real fast. But it's all good stuff, right? So Omega's the brand. Are there other ones? Yeah, there's other ones. There might be even one cheaper than Omega, but I know for the warranty and it meets these requirements, that's the key. Again, low RPM and masticating is the kind of style that you want to get for that. So with juicing too here, one of the things that a lot of people don't know, and I wanted to mention this here too, is our max greens, because this is actually, we have a big facility down in Orlando that does this, but they actually take huge batches of 100% organic and living superfoods. They juice it and they dry it out to actually concentrate it down. So in one scoop of this, there's like 12 to 13 servings of vegetables. And I did this little experiment at the who was at the holiday taco salads? Okay, just only a few people here, so I'm going to do this again. So what's in here, and just to kind of show you how powerful this type of nutrition is in your body, I took a snack pack here, all right? Some people thought I was maybe loading up for energy before my talk right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here because there's a lot of probiotic and predigestive enzymes in here. A little stir sticker here. Just going to mix this around, let it sit for a few minutes, and then I'll show you something magical after that, like David Copperfield's. So bear with me, I stir this around. All right, just so you know, there's no smoke and mirrors, all right? So I have a control one here too, all right? So as you can see, when you tip it upside down, it doesn't go anywhere, all right? We'll come back to that in a second. Any questions so far? Yes?
On your Omega, do you have to chop it? Like on my juicer now, you can literally just put it in a hole.
You just need to be able to fit in the hole. So I do rind, you can do rind and everything. So like the lemon and lime peels, I leave them on there and shove it, and it chews it up like, yeah, good.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Sorry, the greens, what is your opinion on the greens versus real? I mean, as far as
What do you mean?
what you're taking away.
Oh, so it's a compliment. Is that, am
well,
I
I
right?
mean, if you're going to do a shake and use the greens, like not necessarily juicing,
Yes.
but what is do you take from it just the same amount that you would from a real
So you mean,
You know what I mean, as far as nutritional wise? Does your body absorb the same nutrition from the powder as it would eating broccoli?
Because it's living, yes. Because this specific kind has not been heated, it's still technically alive in there. I do both actually. Yeah, this is like better for me. And I'll put this in water and I'll just sip on this because all day long actually, because it's kind of got a chocolatey flavor with that. So I'll do this as almost like as a drink throughout the day. But yeah, but I will do a lot of like this, spinach and stuff in my shakes too. I mix it up. You got to keep your body guessing a little bit because you're gonna get certain things from this that you maybe wouldn't get from just straight up spinach. The other reason why I probably lean more to this here too than just straight up spinach because you're getting 34 different ones in here rather than just like one spinach or maybe a little bit of broccoli. Okay, so.
Very good. I use that one and the protein powder, and I kind of mix them together.
Totally fine.
Okay.
Yep, I do the same thing.
Good. What about wheatgrass? Do you have wheatgrass too? Can you use wheatgrass?
Yes. Yep. Another funny story about wheatgrass actually. When I was in when I went with my friend Isaac, of course, we always get in trouble with Isaac. We thought we were going to practice on the West Coast for a while. And so we went to Portland, we went to a juice bar. We're like, oh, we got to go in here. So we were sitting down, we were talking, they only did wheatgrass shots, and so they had a special going on that day. So we realized over an hour, him and I had like each 25 wheatgrass shots.
Oh, wow.
Because they were so good, so we were like doing that. And when we stood up and it was time to leave, it's like, if you're like, you have like 2 or 3 glasses of wine, maybe you don't feel it, and you stand up and you're like, oh, so whoa. Literally, it felt like we were drunk. Like, it was like we were so high on nutrition, like I literally felt like wobbly, and I felt like I was drunk. It was the craziest thing, so, all right. So, remember, eating food that is alive helps you live, all right? When you eat food that is mostly dead, don't be surprised if you're dead faster, okay? All right, intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting has gotten super popular here just in the last probably I'd say 6 to 9 months, 6 to 12 months, as far as like people kind of teaching it. But really, to be fair, it's an ancient practice. So I don't want to confuse people too much here tonight, but I will anyways because it's a really, really, really good practice to do intermittent fasting. So obviously in the Word, as opposed to just straight up fasting like Jesus did in the desert, for 40 days and 40 nights. Intermittent fasting means that you're just having periods throughout the day where you're consciously fasting. All right. So there's a couple different ways to do it. There's 2 methods. Actually, there's lots of methods, but my 2 favorite, and I think most realistic, is one called the 5 and 2 method, and the other one is called the thirds method. Okay. So the 5 and 2 method, what it means is that for 5 days of a week, all right, 5 consecutive days, you are eating your kind of normal meals, all right? Whether that's normal 3 meals a day, all right? And with this here, I'm really going to stress the advanced plan, all right? Now, because listen, intermittent fasting is definitely a way to dramatically speed up your metabolism and dramatically help your body get into a healthy state very quickly. So doing the advanced plan is going to help that process even more. It doesn't mean you can do intermittent fasting, intermittent pizza fasting, okay? We're still following the guidelines by the advanced plan to especially get the most bang for the buck. Now, the other 2 days of the week, now, depends on your schedule. Most people tend to do them on the weekends. That's kind of like the consensus, but if that's not convenient for you, you don't have, you can pick any 2 days that you want. What you're doing is you're actually eating less than 600 calories in a day, all right? So you're not eating anything, but you're eating like a very low amount of food. So I'm not going to tell you what this consists of because I want you to kind of look up like what you maybe normally eat for breakfast and look up how many calories that makes because it may surprise you one way or the other. Maybe not as many as you thought or it might be more than you thought, all right? So the easiest way to kind of do this would be to just eat 600 calories at breakfast or maybe 600 calories only at dinner. The rest of the day then, you're not eating, okay? So you're having kind of a big break with that. So, it's and I'm going to say this too, it's really not as hard as it sounds because I guarantee you there's been days here when somebody's been so busy that you didn't eat, okay? Like it's not like you have not ever done it before. It's just a matter of you're making a conscious practice of trying to make this happen. Now the thirds, and this is the one that I personally did for about 30 to 45 days, is that you're eating all of your food, all of your meals in an 8-hour window. Okay, so there's 24 hours in a day, right? So that means that for the other 16 hours, you're fasting. Okay? And part of that is you're sleeping, okay, right? So part of that is when you're sleeping. So what I did, and you have to figure out what your work schedule, how this would easily work on. My period that I chose was 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Now before somebody says it, I'm breaking one of my cardinal rules of what? Not eating breakfast, right? This works, okay, over time, all right? But again, I know I don't want to confuse you, but I am going to confuse you, all right? If it confuses you too much, make your window, I don't know, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., all right?
7 to 3?
Yeah, it can be any 8-hour window that you want it to be, but they need to be consecutively,
What
all
time
right?
are you going to bed with the 1 to 9?
What, sorry?
What time are you going to bed, eating before?
I usually go to bed at 11.
Okay.
So for me, and I'm telling you, you have to figure out what's going to work for you. For me, it was easiest with my work day to skip breakfast, all right? Come to work here. So like, I wake up like around, here's like what my day would look like. I wake up like around 7, all right? Go to work by 8, adjust patients till about 11, and then I would go actually work out at about noon. And then right after I get done eating, I would eat one big meal at 1 p.m., huge meal actually, because I was usually hungry by then. And then I would go back to see patients around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I would have a snack, like a high protein snack, like a shake or something like that around this time. And then I would see patients till, this is what I'm saying for my work schedule. I'd be here till 7 and sometimes 8 or 8:30 some nights, like when I go over x-rays. So then I would have to eat right when I got home before 9 o'clock, all right? So that was just, again, based on my work. And a lot of you just work maybe 9 to 5 or something. And so that might not be the best for you. Now, where the real magic happens is the workout. All right? And you want to be doing that workout before you hit that window. So you want to do it on an empty stomach. Because here's what happens is that when there's literally has not been food and therefore an insulin response and sugar in your bloodstream for 16 hours, your body kind of freaks out a little bit in a good way. And it's like, oh my God, there's no sugar. So it's only got one option for fuel, or die. And guess what it uses for option then? Fat, right? And it goes to your fat stores. So it actually will burn your fat stores and turn them into what's called ketone bodies. That's why the magic term is ketosis, okay? This is a ketone body right here, organic chemistry, all right? Ketosis then means your body is in a state of burning fat for energy versus burning sugar, all right? And your body actually prefers that and it loves that because you will get 9 calories per molecule of fat versus 4 calories on protein and carbs, all right? So it's more than twice as efficient of energy. So it was no surprise that I saw my energy like skyrocket like crazy while I was doing this. And it was actually very sustainable. With this, you're going to do this 6 days a week, 1 day a week. Usually I did Saturday, I ate breakfast, okay? That was just me. So some people do it and they'll eat breakfast, lunch, and have a super early dinner, and then they're done, all right? So you can still do 3 meals a day if you want to in that window. Most people find that you just do 2, right? Kind of 2 bigger meals, a little bit of snacking in between with that. But this one for me seemed way more sustainable than this one right here too, but a lot of people find success with this here too. So you just kind of got to think about how do you operate, what's your work day look like, kind of where are the areas of the highest demand. So for me, the afternoon was always the high, and the evening was always the highest demand, so that's why I wanted to be eating. All my poor patients in the morning got me, no, it wasn't that bad. So you'll find 2 days, it took me about 48 hours of doing this, of like feeling a little bit sluggish and really hungry in the morning to like not being hungry, waking up ready to go, raring to go. And you know, I didn't measure, but I know that I definitely leaned out body fat percentage a lot, which is really hard for me to do because I'm fairly low already, but it happened pretty substantially. But main thing, my energy went up. Now, what's the beauty about intermittent fasting, we'll come back to questions on that for a second, is that it really works like this. This is my nerd coming out. When you hit Control-Alt-Delete on your computer, what happens? It reboots. Okay? It resets, all right? It resets in your body. And the specific things that it resets are something called IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor 1, all right? And also BDNF. So in IGF-1, that's insulin growth factor 1, this is what they can measure now to actually figure out how fast you are aging. So meaning that the more IGF-1 that you have in your body, and so therefore remember, this is produced, insulin is produced in the presence of carbs and sugar. So basically meaning the more carbs and sugar you eat, the more your IGF-1 goes up, which means the faster your body ages, okay? So as Americans, what they found is that typically we, from the minute we're born, it's just on a constant, it's like kind of like pedal to the metal. IGF just continually, it starts out and just continues to get more and more and more as we go on. Now, studying other cultures, especially the Okinawans in Japan, which has the highest concentration of centenarians, so people that are 100 years older, when they measured them, they actually found that their IGF levels they peak because that's normal, but they actually then taper off and kind of plateau. So that's why you'll find that, you know, if you read books about Okinawans or like little news articles about them, they still have like 100-year-old people without any arthritis, no heart disease, no cancer, still working in the fields and still contributing to society, where our bodies obviously break down kind of right about here because it just can't handle it anymore and all the joints break down and everything. But that's actually not normal. So this is more normal. Now in a laboratory they were able to recreate this with intermittent fasting. They used mice called Laron mice. And not like LeBron, like LeBron James, Laron. They found they're very interesting. So, you know, normally they kind of breed their mice, you know, to have the same quality, so there's no too many variables. And the average mouse, will live about 2 years in a laboratory. All right, that's kind of the average lifespan of that type of a mouse. But Laron mice, very interesting. Actually, they will live 4 years, so they will live double the length of time as what a typical mouse will, or rat, the Laron rats, not mice, rats. And what's interesting, they found that these rats not only live 4 years, but they don't develop any health problems. So they'll go 4 years and they'll just one day just tip over and die or not wake up from literally old age, which is kind of cool. And so that's where they kind of went backwards and they started looking at other societies that, you know, there's a lot of African countries where people have the same things, and so they found the same type of measurement there. So when we're talking about the fountain of youth, we all want to look younger, we all want to be younger, so you can tap into this by doing things like intermittent fasting, you know, juicing, or if you're like me, where everybody tells me that since my new haircut I look 10 years younger, that might work too. Intermittent fasting is huge in helping your body balance the IGF numbers, okay, and literally slow down the aging process in your body. It's amazing, it's biochemistry. The kind of cool term right now is called biohacking. Now BDNF stands for Brain Development Neurotrophic Factor. It's a fancy word for the more of that you have, the more your brain can network together and think and grow and develop. All right. So when they looked at people that have Alzheimer's and dementia, guess what happened to their levels of BDNF? Almost non-existent, right? Which is why their brains cease to be able to to learn new information, to retain information, and they start going through the tubes there. So same thing in humans and people, in rats have been studied, their BDNF levels actually went up. So, and I can really attest this. Thinking was clearer. After the first couple of days, I was a little bit foggy, but then after that, then you kind of break through that. So maybe you want to start on a weekend if you don't have much, responsibility on a weekend there. But this, I can feel this. I don't know what it feels like, but I could feel like my brain was networking and getting stronger. My memory was better, my short-term memory. And why am I not doing that right now? It's like, well, I just kind of fall off. As we all do, we fall off something, and it's hard to get started again with those things. It's like the thinking is fun, but doing is kind of hard. You know what I mean? But so this part of me, as I talk about this, is reminding me to get back on doing this. All right. So BDNF is an IGF of the thing. So we want to raise up BDNF and we want to lower down IGF-1 and get your body back into that. So when this happens, the last kind of thing I want to get at. First of all, any questions on this?
I didn't have a question, but I wanted to add something to what you said about when you had to eat grass and you felt like you had a high.
Yeah.
And you said that other people, when you say stuff, is like good energy for other people. I don't know what it is about cucumbers, but if I just do a cucumber juice, it's like the biggest high.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I go to work and I'm like, morning, yeah. and I mean, everybody will have your thing, but it really.
Which as a nurse, more need to be doing that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you test for that? It's blood. It's a specific blood marker. Could you order it from a general doctor? Probably not, because it'd probably be a couple $1,000 if they can even do it to the right lab. This is done in very, very expensive laboratories, for that.
Say what the BDNF stood for again.
Brain development. I'll write it out. If I can spell it right. Which, in case anybody's wondering, in second grade there was something called the what was it called, M, again? What was that penmanship class called again?
I don't remember.
Lincoln. It was like the NEAT club or something like that. I was the last person out of the entire grade to get accepted into the NEAT club, as you can tell. I haven't gotten any better. Literally, I was the last person out of 200 kids in the school to get accepted, and I think they just gave it to me because they didn't want me to be the only kid that ever failed. So this is what BDNF stands for right here. Okay. Neurotrophic, right? That means growth, nerve growth, right?
Greg, when you're doing the intermittent fasting
Yes.
and you're not eating in those periods, are you drinking water? Are
Yes,
you drinking
tons.
juice or just
No,
water?
just water.
Just water.
You can't have any carbs, sugar, calories, or anything. Now, in the beginning, if you're dying of hunger, like I say, for me, I was kind of dying. I had a couple slices of apple just to kind of, keep my body from going nutso. But you really need to try to avoid that if you can. And also, if you have a super busy day, and you miss your window, let's say, for me, just for some reason, I wasn't able to eat till 10 o'clock at night with that. You don't freak out from that. However, it'd be a big problem if I would have had breakfast at 9, in the morning, and then try to go through that window from 1 to 9 like that. If you can't stay on it, if you're going that far outside the window, your body will never figure it out, and you'll just be struggling to be miserable. So you gotta stick as close to that window. You can go 1 hour on the front end or 1 hour on the back end if it needs to be convenient for your schedule, but don't go much more outside that. Don't kind of hop, skip, and jump around. And once you pick your window, you really can't change the window around. You can't do 1 to 9 one day and then 9 to 5 the next. It has to be the same window because you need that 16 hours in between. And how that works, though, as your digestive organs are resting from not having to process food, your brain is also resting too. So that's why it gets a chance to kind of reboot and bounce back.
When are you doing were you playing the workout again? Are you doing it?
Right before the thing, right before you would start eating.
Okay, so for you.
I did it. That's why I did it at noon. I did it at noon right beforehand.
Right
So
before you
yeah, and you can do it again time-wise. I could have done it at 9, but it's I do hard workouts, so doing a hard workout and then not being able to eat for another 4 hours, would be painful. So I would try to do this right before my window
Okay,
would
you're not
start.
taking any protein or anything?
No,
Okay.
it's all in the window, all in the window.
Okay.
Yep. So I am doing that, but it's still in the window. Yep.
All right. Question, are you doing this like once a month? Or is this something that you just do?
You can do it indefinitely. You really can. It is sustainable enough to do it
Like
indefinitely.
week after week after week?
I did for 45 days. And then I went on vacation, just wasn't convenient to do. And then when I just did, holidays actually came up and I just got off from it, So I started back. But yes, you can do it indefinitely. Or you could do it as like a 30-day type thing just to kind of get some momentum and then with your body and then balance and then kind of drop back down to doing the advanced plan.
Are you worried about losing too much fat?
No. It's not necessarily a fat burning thing, it's a hormone balancing thing. So it's just going to shift your body to be where it needs to be. Some people might gain a little bit of weight, it can happen. I put on a little bit of muscle when I did it. Most people will tend to lose weight. Because when most people diet, like just generic dieting, here's what happens. I love this. I read 5 books to prepare for this talk, and this is one of the best lines I got out of there. It's called TOFI. What that means is thin on the outside, fat on the inside. All right? Meaning like you can lose, like most diets can help you lose on the outside, but if it doesn't target your hormones, which very few of them do, then your visceral fat actually accumulates because the body will be in starvation mode, which is a way more dangerous type of fat. So we actually put something together to kind of incorporate both juicing and intermittent fasting. We actually came up with a 15-day kind of cleanse protocol to do that. And I'm actually kind of happy that it falls this time of year, it's February, because most of you probably fallen off track with your resolutions. This is a good kind of jump start for that. But Keisha and Otis, I had them be the guinea pigs on it, because I always have them be the guinea pigs on it. Keisha, that Otis is Keisha's husband. Otis has been doing it for a week, lost 15 pounds. Keisha has also been doing it for a week and has lost 8 pounds. So it's only 1 week of doing this. So we have a little cleanse and a thing that literally tells you for 15 days exactly what to eat. So it incorporates intermittent fasting and the juicing. Well, really more of the max greens, but you can juice it instead if you want. So we put together a little package for that. So it's 15 days, and during that time you actually take double the amount of daily defense, so to balance inflammation. You take double the amount of daily detox, you do double the amount of greens, and we do plant protein. So I know most of you are doing the whey protein, but we're actually doing the plant protein with it because we want to, even though it's good, healthy dairy, we actually cut out the dairy out of it just to even make it all that much easier on your digestive system too. So they've been doing that for the last, 7 days, and pretty good data on that for that. So, and we have that available. Oh, sorry, the whole package for all the supplements that you need for that. It's something like, I think it's 220 for all. They have them up front. The girls have, and then you get this little meal kind of guide with it too. So we put it together for you. It's pretty awesome, actually. And you can ask them about it because I didn't do it. I had them be the guinea pig. So you can ask them how they. Keisha, well, she was kind of grumpy actually for a few days last week. So now she's good. Now she's good. All right. So final 2 points here, and then if anybody needs to get adjusted yet, we'll do that, or you can stick around for questions. If you have a personal question about it, instead of just email me, it'd be easier because I can give you a better answer. Because I know I might get flooded from here too. But I want to share one final story because this is pretty awesome. So. And I purposely really didn't post this on the Facebook. How many of you saw, maybe like 3 weeks ago, the home birth baby that we had? The Marshes had one, a little baby that was born home. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, we had a patient that had a baby last week, and it was a patient. She's been a patient of mine for 3 years. And what's so cool about this is that her name is Oli, and her husband Tino. They've been patients for 3 years. Is that when she was 10 years old. Around that age, she actually was diagnosed with leukemia and had to go through 3 years of super aggressive, chemotherapy, just kind of just blasting her body with toxins and just crazy stuff. And the doctors, the oncologists, told her that going through all of that, she probably would never be able to have a baby, which is so cool. And so she delivered last week. She was in labor for, guess how many days? 8. 8 days. Of 15-minute contractions, 15 minutes apart contractions, home birth, and she did it.
Wow.
And so what blew me away about that, and she would kind of call me every should the baby be out yet? And I'm like, the baby's gonna come and the baby's gonna come. And she's like, okay, that's all I needed to know. And then like kind of click, and then it's been 6 days for the baby. And so I drove down there a couple times and did that. But if you guys want to know like why it is that we do things the way that we do, or the reason why we have processes, or the reason why we turn our office now into a cell phone free zone, so that you're not, subluxating yourself on your live platforms like this and following around, or you're reading pointless things on Facebook when you could be hearing something good and inspiring on the TV right there, is that literally we have a baby now in this world that without maximized living would not exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, it literally changed the history of that family by doing that, and it's just like, it's the most humbling and just amazing thing, going through that, and with my daughter, and then seeing other people do that too. And not that it's like you're only cool if you have a home birth, but I just think how amazing is that she was told she would not have a baby, and now she has a baby boy, and he's cute as a button with that too. So when we have our events like this, and most of you have seen the because we've been brainwashing like crazy with the Dr. BJ Hardick event that's coming up, this is the guy that literally wrote the book when it comes to, he created the advanced plan, right? Like, this guy sat in his basement and wrote the advanced plan. And for him, I asked him, because he's actually a good friend of mine, he's my mentor. So when we go to seminars, we went to a seminar a couple weeks ago, he's the guy that teaches us all the new stuff that's happening on nutrition. So everything I would consider myself a black belt in nutrition. He's like a 5th degree black belt in nutrition. So anyways, he is coming here March 7th to do a seminar for all of us, right? And I asked him, because he's got one of the top natural healthcare clinics across North America. He's a New York Times best-selling author. This book has been in the hands of 100,000 people, a couple 100,000 people across North America. He said not that it's about weight loss, but I just want to show you how good he is of a teacher. 300 people in the last 5 years that have lost more than 40 pounds. That's kind of like his sort of tagline, so to speak. And just hundreds and hundreds more that have just been able to help get a healthy weight here. So we have tickets on sale. We actually rented out the Summit Church, which is a huge church here in the area. It's off Capitol Boulevard. It fits about 300-400 people in there. I want to fill it up with as many people as we possibly can, because I know that this event will literally change. We talk about changing the destiny of that family with the baby. This is going to change the destiny of this city for as far as people walking away. It's going to... Think about 400 people coming out of a seminar on Saturday being like, holy crap, we just learned the most amazing stuff. And then now you go to your workplaces and your family and your churches and you start spreading the message. It's like wildfire, you know what I'm saying? So the tickets, they're going to be $40 at the door, but we have them on sale. And tonight's the last night that they'll be on sale for $10 a piece. They're going up to $15 tomorrow, which is why I want to give you all people a chance for that. And they're going to kind of keep going up as the event gets closer. So I would encourage you to register for that tonight. Sometimes, the last time we did a cancer event when Dr. Majors came and spoke, if you can't tell, I'm excited, because I literally only have to talk for 5 minutes, and I'm going to sit in the front row and just take notes the whole time. And by the way, he will be available. You may think this is corny, but if you want him to autograph your book, he will. He'll do that afterwards. He'll autograph the book, get a little picture with you if you want. It's kind of a big deal, in my opinion. So really, if you know people that's I don't even know if they can make it, but just buy tickets for them today, and then just show them, I bought this ticket for you, you're coming, I don't care what you say. It's going to transform life. Also, we're going to have a little mini sort of expo after the seminar. So we're going to have healthy restaurants in the area here, healthy vendors, local, Green Shield is a cleaning company. They're going to have stuff there for us to all kind of be exposed to, so you can walk out of there and not be like, crap, what do I do now? Or where do I go eat? There's going to be healthy restaurants that are oh, here's a coupon, go to our restaurant that's a mile down the road there and eat there for lunch instead. So we want to make sure you guys have these resources around you that you can continue to be healthy. I don't want to be the only one, because I'll die trying to do everything myself, but I can be the catalyst, hopefully, to start all those things. Did I talk about everything that I wanted to? Oh, also, who got the email that I sent out yesterday? If you didn't, and you want to be on our email list, make sure you give us, maybe we might not have an email for you or your new email, so make sure you give us that if you did not get it, or if you're not sure, put it on there anyways and we'll double check, because I'm sending out new information. Other products that we have here tonight are going to be 10% off if you need anything there. The cleanse is going to be 15% off, everything that's involved in the package for that. So
Don't forget your husband thing. Don't forget
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was going to be the best part. I almost forgot. All right. So everybody just have to look here, right back. So no max screens, right? Max screens.
Yeah.
It didn't even do it as good as it did last time, right? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
it was like water.
It was like oh, David, my mirrors failed. Yeah. Anyways, it was, for those of you that were at the talk, you can tell them it was actually really liquidy. I don't know why I did it this time. Probably because mine is really old. So, anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you.